My name is Wayne Taylor, and I am a student at Sojourner Douglas. This question is directed toward our third panelist. You spoke in reference to torture. At Guantanamo Bay, no investigation, collateral damage, civilians being killed during the process of hunting down and taking out the Taliban, no investigation. My question is, were not the lives of those who were killed on 9/11, was that collateral damage or was that an act of war? That's my only question.
I don't think the United States was at war 10 years ago. So for me, the attack on the Twin Towers and on the Pentagon were first and foremost terrorist acts and criminal actions. Now the United States, I think, had the right under international law to consider itself at war after the attack. I think it's a question of judgment whether that was a good idea or not, but like the first speaker, Carter. I'm on a first name basis. Like Carter, I believe that the war in Afghanistan was legitimate under international law because the Taliban was harboring and protecting the attackers of 9/11. I have a quite different view of Iraq, but that's a separate question. Now, if what's implicit in your question is that if a country is attacked, then all bets are off and all other norms don't apply, then I completely disagree with you because, and I'm sorry if I'm presuming that you're saying that, but even if the United States considers the attack an act of war and therefore is legitimately pursuing war as a response to it, it is still bound by the laws of war. And the laws of war means that you cannot, for example, commit an outrage on the personal dignity of an enemy soldier. And you don't need, that doesn't mean that they all have to be prisoners of war. Even those that are not legitimately prisoners of war still cannot leave the street. That with regards to torture. With regards to assassination, the same. The laws of war very clearly say that you cannot kill an enemy who has surrendered. So, or is hors de combat, as the laws of war say, because of wounds, for example. So that's the kind of thing that I was objecting to. And it has, it's irrelevant whether we consider the pursuit of Al-Qaeda a war or a law enforcement operation. In both cases, there are clear rules that prohibit certain, not all, but certain of the things that I was referring to. And again, I think I made it clear that I'm not saying that everything that has gone on is wrong. I'm just saying that there are several things that are very misguided and that put the United States in a very delicate position with respect to international law.
My question,
Someone else ask a question.
gotcha. When we talk about collateral damage, okay, and we talk about civilian lives being...
Collateral damage, I think I made it clear that it is a term of art. It means that a civilian casualty is not per se a violation of the laws of war. What I meant to say when I critiqued the popular use of it is that now we seem to say that because we're at war, every civilian that dies is collateral damage, and that is very dangerous, because then that doesn't distinguish between acts of war that are conducted according to the laws of war, and unfortunately some civilians die anyway, from those acts in which we either target civilians or we attack a legitimate military target, but violating the so-called rule of proportionality that mandates that every time an officer conducts an attack, he has to minimize harm to civilians. He has to judge the possibility of hurt to civilians against the military advantage that that operation is going to have. And that you can only realize after investigating. Not labeling things collateral damage and leaving it at that. That's what I meant.
Good afternoon.